Okay, this one has something to do with Biden.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's
I
a
am
Barron
mightily
talking
tired of
about
the way the president and his
Ooh, what's he doing? Play it.
Yep.
allies use the term impose. Time and again, they say some version of, I'm unwilling to impose my beliefs on others. Now that we've established that opposition to abortion is not a matter of sectarian doctrine, can we also admit that any law, by its very nature, imposes on others? If a majority of federal representatives formulate a piece of legislation to set the speed limit at 65, if the executive agrees with this determination, a law would go into effect imposing this viewpoint on the entire society. The same goes for tax codes, antitrust regulations, minimum wage requirements, civil rights statutes, et cetera, et cetera. Laws don't suggest. They impose. That's their nature. And behind every truly just law, there's some moral principle. Preserving life, establishing greater justice, protecting the poor, fostering the common good, et cetera. So if you were to ask me whether I was working to impose on the entire society a law that would protect the rights of the unborn, I would say yes.
Yes, good.
And then I would add, and what's your point?
Yes.
And finally, can we please put pay to the silly position first articulated by Governor Mario Cuomo 35 years ago, and then tiresomely repeated by far too many Catholic politicians ever
What
since?
a man. Good for
that,
him.
Quote,
Go Barron.
I'm personally opposed to abortion, but publicly I support it, close quote. Again, one might make such a distinction in regard to a strictly doctrinal matter, arguing, for instance, I personally believe it's indispensable to attend Mass every Sunday, but I would never dream of sponsoring legislation to that effect.
Right.
Fine. However, since opposition to abortion, as we've just showed, is not a conviction born of dogma, but rather of moral reasoning, it's utterly incoherent to claim that one can hold to the position privately but not defend it publicly.
It's like saying I'm personally against child abuse, right? Or beating my 7-year-old into a bloody pulp.
Analogous to someone in the 19th century saying that though he personally finds slavery abhorrent, he'll do nothing to eliminate it or even to stop its spread. It would also be precisely analogous to someone in the mid-20th century saying that, though his personal conviction is that Jim Crow laws are morally repugnant, he will fight publicly to keep them in place. In light of this, can you see why so many Catholics, including your humble scribe here, find the president's statements and actions in regard to abortion so repellent? He claims he objects to abortion, that he considers it morally wrong, and yet time and again, in the most straightforward, even strenuous manner, he strives by word and deed to make it more available, more acceptable, more legally defended. Now, if our current president, convinced as he claims to be that abortion is wrong, were to take steps in the direction of
he would claim
at
that
least
these days.
curtailing the practice, or if he could have found...
So that's I should have maybe put it in or just told you the context. At the beginning of the clip, he talks about Biden's kind of official position is he's like, oh, well, as a Catholic, I believe abortion is wrong.
There is no way he would say that today.
But
there was no way his script writers would allow him to say that today.
But yeah.
Sorry, continue if you want.
That's just pretty much it. He says, personally, I think it's wrong, but of course I believe in freedom of, whatever.
I want to just throw this out. We have a United States bishop calling the president of the United States to task. I hope to God, and I mean that, I hope to God that the channels like Taylor Marshall and others that criticize Barron have done videos celebrating this. I haven't checked. I would hope that. One thing I was aware of while I was offline is how much of the news that we consume is just outrage media. And I haven't watched the Daily Wire in the last month, but if your whole goal is to point to outrageous things, and I'm not criticizing Daily Wire. I'm glad they exist. I think they help many of us feel less alone. I think they're doing great work, and I would support them. But when your whole shtick is, look at this outrageous thing, you start to look for outrageous things and hope you don't have a month where nothing outrageous happens, or else you don't get clicks. It's tiresome. So I would hope, and I'm not, am I accusing Taylor Marshall of that? I don't think entirely. I suspect he's a good man and a good Catholic and a good father, but let me just say, I would hope that he would have done a video on this where whatever his differences with Barron, he could say, this is a great thing. Anyway.
Yep. It's like the exact counter argument of people who say like, why don't the bishops say anything? This is a bishop saying something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Positive words to say about the Dobbs decision that at least gives individual states the right to restrict abortion. I might see him then in the mold of Lincoln. But instead, he presses forward, advocating the most radical pro-abortion policy imaginable, seeking to codify into law the Roe v. Wade and Casey decisions that essentially made abortion, up to the moment of birth, a matter of legal impunity in our country. Now, I believe this is precisely why Pope Francis recently referred to the president's position on abortion as incoherent.
Did he?
President Biden speaks often of his Catholic faith, attends Mass
Is that
regularly,
during
prays the
August?
Rosary. I applaud him.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked up the context for that.
Sorry.
I have no reason whatsoever to doubt the sincerity of his Catholicism. But I am sorry to say that in regard to the most pressing moral issue of our time, he stands athwart both the teaching of the Church and right reason.
Go Barron. Man, he's crushing it.
Somebody in the chats, John, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name.
John Schvattel.
Yeah, right there.
Sorry,
says,
mate.
Dr.
Dr. Timothy Gordon? I don't think he's a doctor, but Timothy Gordon had some, unless he did that in August, had some positive things to say about Bishop Barron. Yeah, good for Timothy. I think that he tries to be balanced, Tim, even if I disagree sometimes with what he says. He seems like a really fair.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.